I've got an OC in a wood story. It still creeps me out, till this day. Picture me, 13-year-old Anon back in the day. Lives in Birmingham, UK, very rural city. Goes on trip to visit random distant relatives who live near a farm in Herefordshire. Who the fuck is Great Aunt Rose? All they had is one TV with 5 channels and no internet or mobile connection. Their house literally faces a field full of goats and trees. Get bored at evening and go out to play some football with my 2 younger brothers. Actual football, not shitty American football. Begins to get near summertime sunset, but it's okay as my mom and the others are chilling on front porch with drinks. Stupid youngest brother kicks ball, fucking missions away into trees nearby. We elect him to go get the ball from the sheep farm. Said we would give him chocolate. Brother and myself are waiting for our youngest sibling to return with the ball. Instead, we hear him shout, "Fuck that." See him return, jogging slightly and looking scared. Says he had seen a stray goat and got scared. Leaves us to go get the ball while he goes back to mom. I pick up a stick to defend myself while my middle bro decides to use a carrot he had as a wand. Obviously, we were not taking this seriously. Venture on into the trees by the field with my iPod flashlight as night slowly falls and see our fluorescent orange ball with the flash. We run towards it to get it and get the fuck out of there before we meet Randy fucking Goat. We get about 10 meters away from the ball when we heard some rustling nearby. Cliche as fuck. Use shitty flashlight to see what it is. See that it is the Randy Goat youngest had seen. Middle bro throws carrot in its direction. Seems to be no threat. Bro holds flashlight for me while I pick up the ball. Turn around to see tall figure where the goat was, about 20 to 30 meters away. Shit bricks. Stand there in silence and I pick up my stick while holding the ball in the other. Bro flashes light on it. Looks like a dude, at least 6'6", who is wearing the pelt of the goat, but no visible goat carcass nearby. Hear him go to say something. Sounds like he is a stroke victim, and says fuck this in the scariest way possible. Still has not turned around. Me and my bro sprint as fast as possible. Sprint through a front gate and hug our mom while crying. Tell her about crazy goat person. Puts us to bed, thinking we are exhausted. No sleep. Up all night when I realize whatever it was tried to mimic my youngest brother. Shit's bed. Never going to that place ever again. Laxta, mid-Sweden, September 13th, year unknown, probably sometime in the 1940s or 1950s. It was a late summer evening, and the time was around 9 a.m. 37-year-old farmer Anders Peterson from the rural community of Blacksta was on his way home after checking a fence on one of his remote pastures for his cows. Since it was late, he decided to take a shortcut through the forest. After walking for a while, he saw a shining light ahead of him between the trees. As he got closer, he saw that the light was coming from a glade, and, once there, he saw a sight he had never seen before. Anders described what he saw as a dome of some kind, or perhaps it was a large boulder resting on 3 pillars, which may also have been made of stone. A bright light was streaming from under the boulder, and all around him he heard strange sounds as if from some mysterious music. In front of the rock formation, he also saw some small, human-like googly-eyed creatures with large, pointed ears. Anders stopped in wonder, and then the creatures caught sight of him. One of them held a short staff in his hand, and he raised his arm and pointed at Anders with him. After this, he remembered nothing. When the memory came back again, he found himself in front of his house, and once inside, he looked at the kitchen clock, and it showed almost 5:30 in the morning. Where had all of these hours gone? Normally, it took about 20 minutes to walk home. Anders' wife had obviously been worried and had previously been out looking for him when he did not come home. She had found no trace of him. Anders also could not explain where he had been all night. I'm gonna preface this story by saying I have no reason to lie. Lying on 4chan has zero benefits. What? Am I gonna look cool to strangers? Anywho, a bit of info. Saturday before last, I had the weekend to myself, so I decided to go fishing and camping with my dog at a state park in Texas near Houston. I got there Friday, and for the most part, nothing unusual happened, despite me genuinely hoping for some good spoops. This story takes place at about 6 p.m. Saturday and 3 a.m. Sunday. Loading a few logs into the fire pit, about to get dinner started. Then, from what looks like straight out of the woods, comes a guy. Dressed really business casual. Khakis, short sleeve button up, loafers. Kinda like how you'd imagine a doctor dresses on vacation. Kinda. Very plain guy. Think the typical picture of a man from the 50s. Busy weekend. Every campsite near me was occupied, so I did not find it too surprising that dude just popped up. What was weird though, is that my dog, 19-week-old puppy, who is usually friendly as hell to every person. At worst, she will bark once or twice, all while wagging her tail. Not this time. Full on, teeth bared, ears back, hackles, the hairs on their back that stands up when they're angered, up, tail straight, defense mode. Guy does not pay her any attention. After a few seconds, I say, "Hey, buddy, can I do something for you? You should come with me." Chills go down my spine and I reply, sorry man, I was about to go meet up with someone. I wasn't, but I had to excuse out, without saying he creeped me the fuck out. Get in my car and back out. Check rear view. He is staring at me the whole time I am driving away. Come back about a few minutes later, after buying some meat. Guy is gone, so I get started on dinner once again. Skip to about 3 a.m. the next morning. Could not sleep, so I went to get some night fishing done. Sit on a dock by a boat ramp facing the water, and my dog starts growling. It's that guy. Man is standing at the top of the boat ramp. Reach for the knife I brought with me. Hey, how's it going, man? A few quiet seconds pass. He says, "Come with me," calls me by my name. "You will be happier where I am." I jump up and prepare to book it when he just starts calmly walking down the boat ramp. Hits the water and does not break his stride. He just walks straight into the lake like it was the sidewalk. Once his head disappears from sight, I start freaking out. I call park security and tell them I just saw a man walk straight into the water. Stay calm and return to your campsite immediately. Fuck that. Hide behind a tree and watch. Just one camp patrol guard shows up. Walks back and forth in front of the boat ramp, mumbling, then gets back on his golf cart after about 20 minutes of this. Decide that I have had enough, packed up the car and went home at 5 in the morning. Be me. Last February. Shopping at Smith's on Central and Coors. Hear loud bang. Sounded like when a textbook does a belly flop on tile, but super loud. Feel the ground shake for a second or two. People rush to the front of the store to see what happened, talking with the other shoppers. One lady claimed the building was struck by lightning. We all go back to shopping after a while. A few more minutes pass before the intercom turns on. All Smith's employees, please evacuate immediately. Everyone looks confused. All Smith's customers and employees, please evacuate the store immediately. Rush out the door, leaving groceries in the basket behind. Police and fire show up as we leave. Get home and turn on news. Nothing. Few days later, find out it was a suicide bombing behind the store. Only bomber was killed. Witnesses saw him at the gas station. That face when I almost died in a terrorist attack. Not paranormal, but still a strange happening. Be May, 19. Just this last winter in the country in rural Wisconsin. Sleep in basement at parents' house. Go to college on winter break. Hear slap on window right next to my bed. Wide the fuck awake now. Listening for anything. Nothing. 5 or so minutes pass. Then the sliding glass window has the same crack, like it got smacked. Nope. For the next 30 minutes, all the windows in the back side of the house get smacked. The guest room, the sliding door to my parents' room upstairs, we have a deck, as well as the living room and Four Seasons room. Window by me gets slapped again, huddled in the adjacent corner as far out of sight as I can. Then just alternates from tapping to scratching on my window. Nope, nope, nope. Tell parents next day. They say it was just the windows, that they make that cracking noise due to bitter cold, and laugh it off. Stupid idiots. I'd heard the sound during the day too. It gets fucking frigid here in Wisconsin. 2 hours later, Dad tells me to come out and help shovel snow. Fresh snow, no biggie. Get dressed up and head out. Dad must have gone down already. Only one set of prints heading up from behind house to road. What? Come to think of it, there were footprints up by the garage and sidewalk to the front door. Get down there and see a fuck ton of boot prints in the snow on the patio, on the deck, the stairs up to it, and all around the outside of the house. Hands and fingers smudged all over the window. Dad says not to tell anyone. Trail the prints back up our road. Fucker walked down one side of the road to our place, which is one of the last houses on our lane, half a mile walk, and back up on the other side. Get to the top of our lane. Tracks disappear. Whoever it was got picked up, or the prints are gone due to the plows. Sleep with Bowie Knife under my pillow ever since. Whoever it was never stopped at any of the houses up to ours, just went right for ours. Fuck that shit X. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you do and you want to hear more, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below, as it lets the algorithm know that you like my content and it promotes it to more people. My goal for the channel is to hit 50,000 subscribers, and we're closing in fast, so thank you, and back to the stories. I worked at a Boy Scout summer camp a few months back, and I had what I would call the point in my life where I decided I am not cut out for experiencing spoopy things. Be first year staff. The camp is right in the heart of a Native American sacred area. The resident tribe actually blessed the camp when it was first opened. Learning all about camp traditions and different ghost stories they have in the area, one strikes me as more interesting than the others. Shadowy figures called Dark Watchers that watch you from a distance and disappear when you notice them or stare you down. Became decent friends with many of the other veteran staff members. Asked them to tell me more stories about the Dark Watchers. A surprising amount of them have personal experiences. Probably at least 80% of the second year plus staff have experienced it. Stories of waking up in their tents to see an 8-foot tall shadow standing over them, staring them down. Stories of shadows and footsteps being noticed outside of tents when people are camping alone. One story of a guy who came out of one of the shower houses only to be confronted by 3 of them just staring at him from above the stall. Being a spoopy addict and loving the nature of ghost stories, I get excited about all of these stories. Secretly hope that I get to experience it as well, so that I have my own accounts of them, rather than just telling stories. Quick note to set up the rest of the events. One of the merit badges I was teaching required the kids to do an overnight camp out in a shelter that they built themselves. So every week, I would take the new class out to the edges of the camp and tell them to construct their shelter before going to sleep. After a few weeks of this, I got pretty used to that campsite and started to memorize its layout. Go for almost a month without a single incident. I periodically ask other staff about the stories and some of the other legends. Gathered enough stories to fill an entire thread. Gets to the last 2 days that I am at that camp before the season is over. Take the last group out to the campsite, nothing special. Rest of the night goes without incident until I wake up around 4 a.m. to go to the bathroom. I go a little ways down the path where I know where none of the scouts have built their shelter, so I don't accidentally piss all over them. Go about doing my business, when suddenly I feel like my heart is sinking farther and farther into my body. It feels like every single tree in the forest is watching me, judging. What were just trees during the whole month suddenly feel like pairs of eyes staring down at me. I have been out there enough to know that this is not what it normally feels like. I finish up and start taking the trail back, only to notice that some of the trees near the clearing look odd. Normally, there are some small, barren trees that are just branches attached to a trunk all around the clearing. I am looking at them when I notice that I cannot see past them in the moonlight. It is as if there were shadows of leaves on the trees blocking my vision, making it impossible to see past the trees. I know for a fact that all of the leaves have fallen off of the trees in the area. Get closer to one of the trees because it is near where I have my shelter set up. A massive shadow suddenly breaks out from behind the tree and takes a few steps before disappearing. The after image of a man in the middle of a running motion is burned in my mind when suddenly the other trees start to behave similarly. It feels like every tree is hiding something behind it, and whether it is or not, I really start to panic. Little bitch mode.exe kicks into gear. Crawl into my shelter and toss my sleeping bag over my head and pretend that I don't feel like the forest is watching me. The feeling keeps getting worse and worse before I start to finally hear footsteps. Not normal footsteps with a rhythm or pacing. Sounds like someone is just stomping into the dead leaves and branches in a way that would make noise but not be overly obvious. The pacing is what really got to me. It did not feel like they were footsteps at first. It would sound like a solitary stomp, then silence for 5 or 6 seconds before another strike. They keep getting closer and closer. It feels how I imagine a stray cat feels when it knows someone is there, but they are inching closer and closer, trying to get close enough to pet it or something. It finally reaches a few yards behind my head when it comes to a stop. I'm laying on my back in the dirt, locked in place, wanting to breathe a sigh of relief, but that anxious feeling has not gone away yet. The footsteps come back, but they are very far away, and they are coming from the opposite side that they were. They sound like they are circling my position when I start to hear more and more steps coming in and leaving. They keep getting closer and closer before disappearing completely and starting up somewhere else. This goes on for about 30 minutes. The entire time I am paralyzed with fear. At its peak, I counted about 5 sources of the sound before the adrenaline finally got to me. Uninstalling little bitch mode.exe. I snap up off the ground and I take the sleeping bag off of me and start to look around the dark of the night. Dead silent. No footsteps. No bugs making noise. No wind. Heck, I don't even know if I could hear my own breathing. I stay sitting up like this, surveying the area for about 5 minutes before laying back down, hesitantly. Bucking starts up again at full force. The trees hate me again, and I feel the pit of my stomach turning inside out. Reinstall little bitch mode.exe. Stay awake for another hour or so before it dies out and I get some sleep. The paranoia hit me pretty hard early on that morning, but as I started to wake up more, I felt more and more rational. Anyways, drum rock gets its name from the low percussive sounds that emanate from a massive rock set near a large stone wall that oversees it. People who camp in the area will start to hear what sounds like a Native American high drum being hit in a slow, steady rhythm. One of the stories that one of the veterans told me was about a camp out he went on with his girlfriend and some of his friends. In the middle of the night, they all woke up at the same time with that anxious feeling I was talking about earlier. They were camping near a stream that time, but they did not hear the stream running at all the entire time they had that feeling of unease. They started to hear this hollow beat that shook them coming from the rock. It went on for a while before the drumming started growing in pitch and frequency. Almost all at once, the drumming started to reach a crescendo and the stagnant air around them changed. The winds started to blow once in each direction, north, west, east, south, before dying out completely. After that, the sounds of the stream came back, and a gentle passing air returned. The next morning, they were talking about it, and one of them had asked if they had had any weird dreams. Every single one of them had dreamed that there was a bonfire raging, and hundreds of shadowy figures were dancing around it, chanting, while the heat of the fire made them sweat. Another instance with drum rock actually occurred while I was working at the camp. I had went home for the weekend because I needed to get some laundry done, but a bunch of the other staff had chosen to stay and do an overnight trip to Fox Camp. When I had got back to camp, they seemed really shook up and did not seem like they had gotten much sleep. It turns out, one of them had stopped breathing in their sleep and started gasping and choking in the middle of the night. They woke him up and asked him what was wrong, and all he could recall is that he was having a dream that a dark figure was standing over him, choking him. Everyone kinda got the feeling that something was wrong and went to sleep feeling uneasy, except for one guy who stayed up all night to tend to the fire. When asked about it, he said that he could not try to sleep without hearing whispers. They had to pack up early and get back to camp by morning because a new group of scouts were coming in. The guy who was choking the night before was still asleep when everyone started packing up, but he was tossing and turning and speaking frantically about nothing. They said it sounded like he was arguing in his sleep, but it was just gibberish coming out. When they went to douse the fire, he started screaming no in his sleep before waking up. After everyone comforted him and asked what that was about, he said he could not remember, but he felt strongly about the fire staying up for a little longer. They agreed to let the fire burn a little longer before he finally said that he felt better. After fully packing up, they started to make their way back to the main camp when the drumming started up, kinda dully, like it was in the distance, just saying its goodbyes. After they finished telling me that, I had to admit that I was a little jealous. All I did that weekend was laundry. My story about my overnight campout happened later that week. Probably my last post before I go to sleep. Most of the stories that I was told about at camp related to personal experiences with the Dark Watchers and drum rock, but there was one in particular that I feel could stand on its own as a horror story or creepypasta without all of the background knowledge. Put frankly, there were many things that the staff were told that we were not allowed to tell the scouts because it would frighten them. The Dark Watchers, drum rock, the kabuki man, etc. However, one stood aside from the other stories, as it never felt like a spooky story at first. You always had to ask one of the staff members who knew it multiple times because most did not want to think about it. One of the rules we had for going on hikes or overnight campouts outside of the main camp was one that seemed kinda odd at first. Do not leave your camera in an accessible location in your bag. When I was told about this rule, I started asking about it, and it wasn't until the last week that I was there that there was enough free time for the staff member to actually tell me the story behind it. There was a woman who had went out hiking alone in the wilderness surrounding the area. She kept her GPS, flare gun, and camera near her at all times because she knew the dangers of hiking alone in bare and mountain lion country. Anyways, she had been planning a 5-day hike that would take her across many of the scenic landmarks that were near the area. Overall, she had a good time and ran into no trouble throughout the entire trip. Whenever night rolled around, she would set up her tent and go to sleep. The whole trip was considered a success, and she immediately went to a shop to get her disposable camera's photos developed. Looking over her photos, she started to notice that there were pictures taken during the times that were in between the time she went to sleep and woke up. Multiple photos were taken outside of her tent, her campground, local wildlife at night, pictures of her tent zipper open, and worst of all, pictures of her sleeping. I figured it was an actual spooky story made up to scare hikers and campers, but the amount of seriousness and unease the staff member had really worried me. I got to know the guy over that month, and he was not one to joke around. He was an older gentleman with a big old mountain beard. He even showed me some pictures that he insists he never, ever took with his camera. They weren't anything major or creepy like pictures of him sleeping, just pictures of the ground at night with the flash going off, pictures of the trees but upside down or tilted. The whole thing pretty much guaranteed that I would never bring a camera to that camp so long as I live. Be me, 11 years old at the time, Thanksgiving night, outside on a shitty brick porch, live in Arizona, watching stars and shit while family is arguing. All of a sudden, without any warning, entire fucking sky lights up, like it is bright white, biblical shit. White light touching literally everything for about 2 seconds. Light fades, and I can vaguely remember hearing car alarms going off. Wake up as my dad is dragging me inside. Nose is bleeding and my mouth is completely dry. Anon, what the fuck happened? Why were you outside? Tell them about the light. No one saw it, and no one believed me. Thought it was a shooting star for like 3 years. I still have no explanation for what happened that night. I think God gave me brain damage. So, my girlfriend has a younger sister who has cerebral palsy and autism, and although she is very smart, she can't really support herself fully and will probably need help and guidance for the rest of her life, which is perfectly okay. She is basically our adopted daughter. My girlfriend taught her sister how to walk and talk and basically everything that she knows. One day though, my girlfriend told me how there was 3 instances in her life where her sister basically broke character and told her how she was stuck and could not get out, and that she was trapped and needed help desperately. Her sister talks in a very specific, kiddish, and cutesy way. She is very innocent, and to this day, at 19 years old, talks to her stuffed animals like as if they were real. During the 3 times where she broke character, my girlfriend told me her sister spoke in a certain desperate and adult tone and made a face like she was scared for her life, and literally the next second, her face would change and she would go back to the way she was before, and my girlfriend told me it would be like her sister did not remember what just happened moments before. To this day, it scares her and makes her wonder what if her sister is trapped in a childlike state and sometimes has moments of clarity. I'm not sure, but when she told me, I could tell it was serious, and she has never brought it up ever since because of just how much it creeps her out. Sometimes, I get worried that one day, she might break character and only I will be around and I won't know what to do. She is very sweet and we love her just the way she is, but it creeps me out to think, what if her mind was being held hostage by another? Have anybody else had any similar experiences? This isn't really that spooky, I guess, but I had a pretty weird feeling here, and it was very unsettling. Be me, 17, riding ATVs in southern West Virginia with my grandpa and his neighbor. Riding from miles down this road into the middle of fucking nowhere. We are now a solid 1.5 hour drive from any stores or anything you could even almost call civilization. Have not passed any houses or anything for like 30 to 40 minutes. Not really a road anymore, just a path in the woods that you could not even fit a car down. Notice barbed wire lining the edge of the path. We come to a clearing in the trees, and in this small opening, there is a 10 by 10 camper that looks like it has been there for decades, and barbed wire around the whole property. We keep going. That is not why we're here. After another 2 to 3 miles, we start going uphill to the top of a mountain. All of a sudden, I notice graves lining the road and we stop. My grandpa explains that 75 years ago, there was a town out here that was abandoned after a mine collapse. All of the graves are from the late 1800s to the 1910s. Most of them are caved in because they just used wooden boxes for coffins. Several were too close to the edge of the cliff, and the coffins had fallen out because of the side of the cliff eroding. Look down. 4 to 5 smashed coffins with no signs of bones or human remains anywhere around them. It turns out there are actually a bunch of these random creepy cemeteries in the woods by my grandpa's house. It's always really creepy when you stumble onto one while riding.